Hello, class. So today we're doing a discussion. We're looking at Western civilization, how it is relevant today. Um, of course, Western civilization is a huge topic, and I'm going to look at just a small section of it, looking at law and political concepts. But I'm also going to it's really going to brush on that. We're going to brush a little bit on language because it all kind of boils from that, and also looking from the actual history itself of Western civilization. Some people will tell you and mention that Western civilization actually starts with the Greek and such, but if you really think about it, it actually starts with the Romans. Romans are the ones who actually conquered the Greeks. Romans have always had a concept in their early days: if it's not Roman, it's not relevant. If it's relevant, it's Roman. So many things were converted over into the whole Roman Empire and their beliefs and concepts. This would include one of my favorite examples is the Greek gods, which become Roman gods. And also when you look at how the all political and philosophies and all this, which were Greek, became part of the Roman society and culture. And it's very, very interesting because it's one of the things that I really you have to look at when you look at all this is that civilization and is constantly evolving. It's evolving with every time there's a change within society. And this is what makes it very unique, very versatile. And this is why I will point out when looking at language and looking at modern Western civilization. The face of modern Western civilization is actually, you think of the United States and think of England. And of course, you think of the English language. The English language, if you think about how it starts, the English language sounded very much like German. It was a Germanic language, part of the German, the Danish, Finnish, and a few other different languages within that region. They all had the same sort of style, dialect, just like your Romantic languages that were your Latin, French, Spanish, Italian. And these languages, as I said, they're very unique and they follow the same rules up till English. English becomes part is then starts taking on a new thing as it starts to adapt. The Danes come into England, they conquer England, and they take on a portion of the Danish dialect. Then, of course, there's a point where the English bureaucrats were actually speaking French and French only, and then, of course, the language that was used for most of the logs and everything else was Latin. And soon they are when they finally just bring it to a point that they just come up with the English, it starts to take words out of all these different languages and other languages that it then comes across. This is why English is one of the languages that's spoken around the world because it has taken from every other language that it has come in contact with and is always evolving. And this is when you look at when we start coming back into the whole thing of government and Western civilization, how this actually comes into being. You actually see that the origin within the actual government that we have is actually a basis that was originally grounded in the Greek and the teaching within the Greek society, where there's a separation of power. There's this in all these wonderful, wonderful things that become a portion of our country and our setting. Same thing when you think about how our laws are based off of a Judeo Christian belief. Both Greek and the Judeo Christian laws and beliefs all come from Rome, and as Rome would then come up, and this stuff has always been evolving to meet what the situation is. The United States Constitution has been around for over 200 years because it's able to adapt and sit there and change and evolve to match what's going on in the world. This is why Western civilization will always be relevant because it's always evolving, it's always adapting to the situation, and it's always growing to what the people are.